So the success is always there at your doorstep when you have a strong determination, you have a willingness to work hard, and you are physically and mentally fit and strong, right? So this is the success we are going to talk about today in your lesson, Reach for the Top from Beehive, right? Reach for the top. This is a phrase which is often being used. Have you heard it? Reach for the top?
No, ma'am.
You didn't hear? Okay. What do you guess? What is the meaning? Reach for the top. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what do you guess? What do you understand with this phrase, reach for the top? Yes, you try this.
Ma'am, road to success.
Route to success. Oh, wonderful. Yes, Anmol, what do you say?
Ma'am, hard work and determination to your aim.
Okay. All right. Now listen. Reach for the top, if you take literal meaning as it goes with the picture also, which has been displayed. Reach for the top meaning reaching a height, the mountain top, reaching a height, reaching the topmost step of a ladder, or reaching the topmost step of the staircase, right? But reach for the top actually is what Vinayak had very well expounded. It means striving. It means reaching the success. It means achieving the success. When you have reached the top point, now what is the topmost point? The topmost point is the point of your success. When you do something, you have aimed at a goal. Where you have set your goal, right? That is that topmost point. When you achieve that goal, meaning you have reached for the top. So reach for the top meaning success. Now there are so many people who have stories how with their hard work, with their willingness, with their determination, they could manage to reach for the top. They could fulfill their dreams. They could achieve their goals, and they could be very successful in life. There are a few I will just take you to, right? And you will see them. Just a minute. Yes. Now look at this collage. This is collage of the people. You all are familiar with these people, isn't it? Our golden boy, Neeraj Chopra. This is Manpreet Singh, the captain Indian hockey team. And all these four pictures, they are our Paralympics champions of India. All these people, they have recently reached for the top, meaning they have recently achieved their goals, achieved their success. If not exactly the same goal, at least they are very close to that. I hope you understand now. Reach for the top means, right? Neeraj Chopra, he had an aim to come out with a gold, and ultimately he could get it, and he could make all of us proud. So that is how he had reached for the top. When you are reaching the success, when you are achieving the success, definitely your name would be counted among the achievers. And those achievers are those who reach the topmost point, right? Now, these are the people who had reached for the top in sports. But it's not only in sports. Look at these people. I hope you are familiar with these faces. Are you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Here is Sundar Pichai, the CEO, Google. Just imagine the whole world moves according to him because he is the CEO of Google. And this man, Satya Nadella, he is the CEO of Microsoft. So these two people, they have reached the top in the IT industry. Amitabh Bachchan, who is not familiar, who does not know what a long stature, what a tall stature he has in his life. He is tall not only in his physical height, but he is tall with the success that he has achieved in his career and how much he had contributed to the film industry. That today Bollywood is known all over the world. So that's how he had reached for the top. And this man, Ratan Tata, everybody knows Tata's Industries. It is Tata Consultancy, it is Tata Salt. Now the garments also they have got into. And recently you must have heard that they have acquired what? Air India Airlines also. So this is Tata, Ratan Tata, who had reached for the top. How? With his hard work and willingness to work, he had achieved the success, got laurels to the country, not only in the field of industry, but in the field of science also. In the field of science, in the field of industry, in the field of automobile industry. And he is playing a great role in the field of education also. And he is a great philanthropist also. And then the beloved of all the children, young and old people, APJ Abdul Kalam, popularly known as Missile Man, who had reached for the top as President of India, the topmost position of the country he had held. He was a missile man, a great scientist, a great author, a great writer. So all these people, they have achieved their success and that's how they have reached for the top, right? Now here is the word cloud I brought for you. In this word cloud, you will get a number of words. Just browse at these words because you will be using these words later on when you read the stories of two inspiring women in the lesson. These words describe these two women. That is Santosh Yadav, a mountaineer, and the tennis player Maria Sharapova. Yes, reach for the top. The lesson has been divided into two parts. In part 1, you are going to read about Santosh Yadav, the mountaineer, the very first woman mountaineer of the world who had scaled Mount Everest twice. That time, she was the only woman. When second time she climbed up the Mount Everest. After her, many other women, they had climbed Mount Everest not only twice, but more than that. Then the second part you are going to read about Maria Sharapova, a Russian tennis player. The lesson represents the biographical stories of these two strong women who defied the odds and pursued their passion and ultimately succeeded in achieving their goals. How to succeed in achieving your goals? If you have the caliber and confidence to defy the odds. To defy the odds meaning to face the challenges. And then another thing that is important is when you are passionate about it. Both the women, when you read their stories, you will find that it was not only their determination, it was not only their hard work, It was not only their physical and mental strength, but along with this, what was more important were that both the women, they had been very passionate about their goals, that they have to achieve it. So that's how they were determined. That's why they could achieve their goals. Here it reminds me of someone who has written this, so I brought it for you. Every mountain top is within reach if you just keep climbing. Every mountain top is within reach, meaning what I said in the beginning, that the success is always at your doorstep. It is possible to succeed if you just keep climbing, meaning if you just continue making efforts. The challenges are there, the hardships are there, but we have not to give up. If we give up, we will not be able to succeed. If we continue making efforts and if we continue moving towards our goals, definitely what we have aimed would be ours. I hope it is clear to you. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this was a small presentation just to make you familiar with Reach for the Top that you are going to read. Now let us start with the lesson here. Yes, can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Reach for the top. For the first story is of Santosh Yadav. Santosh Yadav, the mountaineer, the Indian mountaineer, right? Before Santosh Yadav, many other women, they had climbed up the Mount Everest, but his story is different. There were more than 635 women. They have climbed up Mount Everest. And Janako Tabai from Japan, she was the first woman to climb up Mount Everest in 1975. And Santosh Yadav had got the honor and the privilege to be the only woman in the world who had scaled Mount Everest twice. Because when she climbed second time, she was the only woman. After that, many other women, they had climbed more than 2 times, right? The only woman in the world who has scaled Mount Everest twice was born in a society where the birth of the son was regarded as a blessing, and a daughter, though not considered a curse, was not generally welcome. Now you just see that a quote that says, or towards the end of the presentation, we discussed that how these two women, they had defied the odds, the challenges. So Santosh Yadav had the challenge right from his birth. Why? Because she was a girl child. She was born in a very traditional family of Haryana, right? So the only woman, Santosh Yadav, who scaled Mount Everest twice, she was born in a society where the birth of a son was regarded as a blessing. So she was born in an orthodox, in a conservative family where a son's birth was welcome. A son's birth was considered a blessing. Daughter, however, she was not taken as a curse, but she was not welcome. This was the story at that time. Today it is not so. When her mother was expecting Santosh, a traveling holy man, giving her his blessing, assumed that she wanted a son. When the mother was carrying Santosh in her womb, she was pregnant. When Santosh was to be born, a holy man, he visited their house. And he assumed, he thought that the lady wanted a son. Because it was the atmosphere, it was the nature of the society at that time, that the women, they would be longing for a son. So he thought that the lady wanted a son. So he wanted to give those very blessings, that you are going to be blessed with a son very soon. But to everyone's surprise, the unborn child's grandmother, who was standing close by, told him that they did not want a son. But Santosh's grandmother at that time was standing near to her mother. And she told that holy man, she told the saint very plainly, very clearly, that they don't want a son, they want a girl child. The holy man was surprised. Why was he surprised? Because it was not so happening in their conservative society. Because the society was so orthodox that the people, they welcomed a boy child. So he was surprised how they are looking for, how they are longing for a girl child. Nevertheless, however, he gave the requested blessing. They wanted a girl child, so he gave them the blessing for a girl child. And as destiny would have it, the blessing seemed to work. Santosh was born the sixth child in a family with 5 sons. Now do you understand? They never wanted a son because Santosh already had 5 brothers. The family already had 5 sons. Now Santosh, after her birth, was going to be the 6th child. And 6th child, they wanted to be a girl, a daughter. And as destiny would have it, as it was their luck, it was their fate, that the family was blessed that a girl was born. Girl was born in a family of 5 sons. So she was born the 6th child, a sister to 5 brothers. She was born in the small village of Joniavas of Rewari district in Haryana. Rewari is quite a popular district of Haryana. In Rewari, there is a small village, Joniavas. She was born there. Now imagine Santosh Yadav from Haryana. Haryana has given birth to many sports stalwarts. Not only men, boys, in fact, girls also. So today when we talk about Santosh, then we do not consider it something extraordinary. But at that time, when Santosh had started earning name and fame because of her achievements in mountaineering, it was a great honor for her. But at the same time, it was very difficult to convince the society, the family, because as I said, that the society was very orthodox. Anyway, any problem here?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, whenever there is any, please do tell me, okay? Yes. The girl was given the name Santosh. Santosh is a Hindi word, and the meaning I hope you know. So she was christened. She was christened with the name Santosh. I deliberately use the word christened in order to tell you that we have the naming ceremony, children, right? We have the naming ceremony when the when a child is born, and that naming ceremony is actually called christening the name. The same naming ceremony is practiced in all the religions, in all the castes and communities. Christians, they call it christening ceremony. So this is actually called not naming ceremony, it is called christening ceremony. So she was named, meaning she was christened with the name Santosh, which means contentment. Santosh meaning satisfaction, contentment. But Santosh was not always content with her place in a traditional way of life. She was christened with the name of Santosh, but Santosh was just opposite to her name. She was never content. Why she was not content? Because the family she was born into, that was a traditional family. And she did not like to live a traditional way of life. She never wanted to live that stereotyped life that was meant for a woman, for a girl in a small village in Haryana. She wanted to live life in her own way, the way she wanted. She began living life on her own terms from the start. Right from the beginning, she would live the way she wanted to live. She would do what she wanted to do. Though it is very difficult for a girl in Haryana to take all these liberties, but she did take, probably, maybe, that she was the only girl child in the family. She was the only sister of 5 brothers. Definitely, the family must be pampering her, and her birth was welcomed. So, the way her birth was welcomed and they had longed for her birth, that definitely makes her privileged one. She began living life on her own terms from the start. Where other girls wore traditional Indian dresses, Santosh preferred shorts. A small example the writer has given, that the other girls, they would wear the traditional dresses. At a very small age, they would not be allowed to wear even frocks. They would be supposed to wear salwar kameez, the traditional dress. But Santosh did not like. Right from the beginning, she wanted to wear shorts. So she had basically the attraction for the boyish attires. Looking back, she says now, from the very beginning, I was quite determined that if I chose a correct and rational path, the others around me had to change, not me. Looking back, now when she remembers, she tells that right from the beginning, she was quite determined that if I chose a correct and rational path, if what she has decided, what she has chosen, if it is correct, if it is reasonable, there is nothing wrong, then why should she change that? Others should change, but she was not going to change. And this is what, children, she had proved in her life by doing so. At times, she had to change. She had forced her father to change his mind because she was very confident. What she was expecting from her father was right. She was right in that. What it is that you will read now. Okay. Santosh's parents were affluent landowners who could afford to send their children to the best schools, even to the country's capital, New Delhi, which was quite close by. Santosh's parents were affluent landowners, affluent meaning quite wealthy, rich. They were rich landowners who could easily afford anything their children wanted. So it was not difficult for them to send their children to the best of the schools. All her brothers, they had been studying in the schools in Delhi. So the parents had sent them to Delhi. Delhi is close by. Rewari is not far from Delhi. But in line with the prevailing custom in the family, Santosh had to make do with the local village school. The brothers, they had been sent to a school in New Delhi. But when there was the time for Santosh to get education in the school, the system, the custom, the tradition that was there in the society, that was practiced, that prevailed in the society was that the girls would be studying in the local village school only. So the parents thought that Santosh would also go to that village school. Do you understand what it is, children? What do you understand? What is it? That the boys are being sent to the Delhi school and Santosh, they want to go to local village school.
Ma'am, primitive thinking of peoples and discrimination.
That is discrimination. What kind of discrimination?
I mean, boys and girls.
What do we call it? What do we call it when there is discrimination done between the boys and the girls? Yes? Vinayak, any idea?
No, ma'am.
It is called gender discrimination, right? It is called gender discrimination. It is called gender bias. So that gender bias was there in the society at that time. It is still prevalent in some parts of the society, but still it has been covered up. It has been cemented a lot with the education of the children. So this was gender bias, that discrimination was done, bias was done between the boys and the girls, that boys are sent to a best school in Delhi, but the girls are expected to study in a local village school. But Santosh was not going to accept it. So she decided to fight the system in her own quiet way when the right moment arrived. What she did, she had decided she would not accept it. So it was another challenge for her. The challenge was that she was born in a traditional family. The challenge is when she had to study, she would not be allowed to go to Delhi to study. She was forced to study in village school, but she was not going to accept it. She had decided that she would fight the system in her own way. What system is she going to fight? Yes, what is that system she is going to fight?
To study in Delhi.
Okay, any other? This system of gender bias, this gender discrimination, she would not accept this gender discrimination. She would not accept this gender bias. She stood up. She decided to stand up against the gender bias. She decided to stand against this gender discrimination. And she thought that she would fight against it in her own quiet way. Fighting does not mean that she would fight with her parents, but definitely she would express her disapproval. She would definitely express that she does not accept it, but she would wait for the right moment. And the right moment came when she turned 16. When she became 16-year-old, that was the moment. Now when she had to decide to say no to this gender bias, to say no to this system of studying in a local village school, when she also had the right to get education in a school of her choice. At 16, most of the girls in her village used to get married. Santosh was also under pressure from her parents to do the same. At the age of 16, a girl in Haryana was pressurized, was forced to get married. And the same thing was expected from Santosh as well. She was also forced to get married. Was Santosh going to accept it? She would not accept it. She would not accept marriage at the age of 16. She would not accept studying in the local village school. She would stand up against this. And she did stand up. Let us see whether she was successful or not. A marriage as early as that was the last thing on her mind. Marriage had no place in her mind. She never thought of it. That was the last thing she would think of it. She never thought that now this is the time she would get married. No. She was far, far away. She thought that she was far, far away from that stage when she would get married. It was too early for her to get married. She threatened her parents that she would never marry if she did not get a proper education. She had put her terms and conditions to the parents, but for a right cause. She warned them that she would never get married if she is not educated. She wants to get proper education first. After that, she would think that she had to marry. Is her condition reasonable or unreasonable? Yes. Is her condition valid or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's valid. It's quite reasonable. Nothing wrong, she said. Fine, there was the custom, there was the system in the society, but with the advancement of the time, these customs, these traditions, they have to be changed. This is what she had tried to convince the family and the parents. And she herself had taken the stride for that. She left home and got herself enrolled in a school in Delhi. She came to Delhi. It has not been given here, but maybe somebody was living here in Delhi, some of her relatives. She came to them and she got admission in Delhi. When her parents refused to pay for her education, she politely informed them of her plans to earn money by working part-time to pay her school fees. The parents, just to discourage her and just to convince her to come back to the village, they refused. They told her that they would not pay for her education. She knew that parents could easily afford. She could understand that they were simply trying to force her. But she just politely and respectfully informed them that if they do not pay for her education, she would start doing some part-time work, and she would earn her school fees by herself. Now, what does it depict about her character? Just remember any word in the word cloud that you read.
Determination.
Determination. That was determination. Her determination to get education. Her determination to be educated. Her determination to fight the old customs and traditions. Right? Now you see Santosh Yadav, she stood up against it and she could get education. How many girls in the remote villages, they stand up for their cause. If they don't, they won't get the opportunities as Santosh got. Her parents then agreed to pay for her education because parents had no problem. Economically, they were very strong. They were very well off. So when they had noticed, when they had observed her determination and her passion for education, they had to bow down. They got convinced and they agreed to pay for her education because she was not going to do anything wrong. She was going to be educated. And her being educated would be an honor, would be a pride for the parents as well. Anyway, sooner or later, the parents had realized definitely Santosh had to make an effort to convince them. Wishing always to study a bit more, and with her father slowly getting used to her urge for more education, Santosh passed the high school examinations and went to Jaipur. Now she had always been longing to get more and more education. So when she finished her high school, now she wanted to go to college. But now the parents, they would not pose any hindrance. Now they would never stop her. Now they would not discourage her. Why? Because now they have got used to her urge for more education. Now they have understood that she is so passionate for her education that it cannot be stopped, that she cannot be stopped. In fact, they not only encouraged her, but they stood by her now. She passed the high school and then she went to Jaipur. She joined Maharani College and got a room in Kasturba Hostel. It was, there was a boarding. She had been staying in hostel in Maharani College, Jaipur. Santosh remembers Kasturba Hostel faced the Aravali Hills. She remembered when she got a room in Kasturba Hostel, through the window of her room, she could see Aravali Hills. I used to watch villagers from my room going up the hill and suddenly vanishing after a while. Every day she would sit there at the windowsill and she would watch the villagers. She could see the villagers from her room that they were going up the hill, and then she would find that the villagers, they just disappear. They vanish, they disappear. So she became quite inquisitive. She became quite curious. Where they disappear, where they go, what is there beyond the hill? This curiosity of her encouraged her to go and see. One day I decided to check it out myself. I found nobody except a few mountaineers. So one day she could not check herself. She could not stop herself. She just decided to check it out. She just decided to explore and find out what is there beyond the hills. When she went there, she did not find any villagers, but she did find a few mountaineers. So the people whom she could see that they were climbing up the hills and then they would disappear, they were actually the mountaineers. I asked if I could join them. To my pleasant surprise, they answered in the affirmative and motivated me to take to climbing. She was very curious and she was very excited to join them. She asked them if she could join. And they all agreed. And they answered in affirmative, meaning they gave their consent to her. And they motivated her, they encouraged her that she should go for climbing. So that's how, during her first meeting with the mountaineers, she got so motivated that mountains and mountaineering had been a great fascination for her. She got so motivated by those mountaineers that she thought she should not miss the chance and she should go. However, it was adventurous, but she had made up her mind. Then there was no looking back for this determined young girl. By now, I think you know very well that Santosh, once she has determined something, she will not give it up. She will not rest until or unless she does it. Isn't it? She wanted to go to the school. She was determined and she did go. She never wanted to wear the traditional dresses. She was determined. She didn't wear those dresses. Now, when she was motivated by the mountaineers, there was no looking back. She did not give a thought to this, and she just determined and she joined the mountaineers. She saved money and enrolled in a course at Uttarkashi's Nehru Institute of Mountaineering. This Uttarkashi's Nehru Institute of Mountaineering, children, it's the best institute in Asia. It's one of the best institutes in Asia, Institute of Mountaineering in Asia. She saved money and she enrolled herself in a course. The mountaineers, they have to go, just a minute, children, just a minute. Yes, sorry. So this is one of the best institutes of Asia. And in India, it is #1 institute of mountaineering. There is another one in Manali also, but this is the #1. So the mountaineers, when they go on mountaineering expedition, before going on an expedition, they have to do some courses. And in particular, when they are going to the high peaks like Mount Everest, etc., then they have to attend the base camp for 6 months or a year, where they are given a lot of training. And they are also given an opportunity to hone their physical and mental strengths. Right? She saved money and enrolled in a course at Uttarkashi's Nehru Institute of Mountaineering. My college semester in Jaipur was to end in April, but it ended on the 19th of May. And I was supposed to be in Uttarkashi on the 21st. So I did not go back home. Instead, I headed straight for the training. She was so determined that she had no time to get back to home and talk to her parents, because the semester was ending in April, but it actually ended on 19th May, and she had to reach Uttarkashi on 21st. She herself managed with the money, she saved money, she enrolled herself, but she had determined to reach there. So she went straight to Uttarkashi's Nehru Institute of Mountaineering for the training. I had to write a letter of apology to my father, without whose permission I had got myself enrolled at Uttarkashi. She wrote a letter of apology to her father because she had enrolled herself at Uttarkashi without her parents' consent, without her parents' permission. Thereafter, Anmol, do you have a class?
Ma'am, on 4:30.
At 4:30, so shall I continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thereafter, Santosh went on an expedition every year. Her climbing skills matured rapidly. Every year she was going on an expedition. But you know that before you climb up Mount Everest, you have to participate in some small expeditions first. There are some local hills and then some other mountains. There is a long series of the small height mountains, followed by the other tall mountains. So during the training, you are invited and you are expected to go for those expeditions. So every year she had been going on an expedition. The result of this expedition was that she could mature her climbing skills. She could hone her skills. Also, she developed a remarkable resistance to cold and the altitude. This kind of training was given, this kind of small expeditions were given actually not only to hone your skills, but also to make you get tuned with the weather conditions and the height. It was high altitude. So until or unless you do practice, you cannot go straight for a big expedition. Now you see that the people like us normally, if you just go to Leh and Ladakh, do you know that Leh and Ladakh, they are at high altitude? So when we climb up, what happens? The oxygen level decreases. Usually the people above 60, 65, they are discouraged from visiting those places. Why? Because they are not used to. But yes, if a mountaineer, even 70-year-old mountaineer also goes, he would not be stopped. Anyway, equipped with an iron will, physical endurance, and an amazing mental toughness, She proved herself repeatedly. Equipped with an iron will meaning strong will, strong determination. She was equipped with her strong determination. She had physical strength and she had mental toughness, and she proved herself that she could climb. The culmination of her hard work and sincerity came in 1992, just 4 years after she had shyly asked the Aravalli mountaineers if she could join them. It was in 1992, the culmination of her hard work, meaning the result of her hard work, her determination, her physical and mental toughness. It could be seen in 1992, 4 years after she had joined these mountaineers in whose contact she had come from Jaipur, when she had asked them to join. So it took her 4 years training to prepare herself for an expedition to Mount Everest. So it was in 1992 that she climbed up Mount Everest. At barely 20 years of age, Santosh Yadav scaled Mount Everest, becoming the youngest woman in the world to achieve the feat. Feat meaning the activity that involves a lot of physical and mental skills and determination and passion. So Santosh Yadav, she climbed up Mount Everest, and in this way, in 1992, when she scaled the Mount Everest, she was the youngest woman in the world. The one who had achieved success, the one who could reach Mount Everest with her determination and physical and mental toughness. If her climbing skills, physical fitness, and mental strength impressed her seniors, her concern for others and desire to work together with them found her a special place in the hearts of fellow climbers. Now just try to understand, this is very important. If her climbing skills, physical fitness, and mental strength impressed her seniors were greatly impressed by her climbing skills, her physical and mental fitness. At the same time, they would admire her for her concern for others. They would admire her for her compassion, for being compassionate. Compassionate meaning when you are always willing to help others. They had seen her concern for her teammates. They had observed that how she was desirous, meaning she was always willing to work with the team members. So this, her willingness to work in collaboration with her team members and her always readiness to help others, her being so compassionate with others, that had found her a special place in the hearts of fellow chambers, meaning that had made her popular among her teammates. So all these qualities you people have to remember when we discuss the character of the girl. Is that clear?
Yes.
Any problem? Any problem? Any problem?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So the rest we shall continue tomorrow.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, good evening.